All right, well, you guys have waited long enough. Here's the 4K Q&A with Tim. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here with my good friend.
I'm Tim.
He's been in a couple of the videos recently, if you haven't noticed. If you haven't, I'll put some links up there. Definitely check them out. He's going to be in a few more videos coming in the near future, I think. So
Yeah.
He doesn't have a choice, like I've been saying.
Unless I'm outvoted in the comments section.
Oh yeah, actually, if you really hate him, just tell him, we don't want Tim. But I have a feeling you guys like him, so. I have promised to do this 4K Q&A for like a month, and I was like, Tim's over, we're going to do it today. Yeah. So yeah, I got about, 15, 20, I don't think 20. I think I kept about 15 questions to keep it kind of concise, because I think I can just ramble on a little bit. And I didn't include every single question, but if there really is some more questions you'd like to know, leave some comments down below. If I get enough, I might do like a part 2 at some point. Yeah. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get started and see how this goes.
Absolutely. We're going to start with the one I already
He's going to be the host, and he's going to keep me accountable, so I can't just lie.
No. We're doing this very carefully, very scientifically. How does a knowledge of history help us in our daily lives?
In our daily lives? I would say studying history. I don't know, I feel like very 1800s here. I feel like in the big scheme of things, at an individual, personal level, what you're doing is actually more finding characters and people from the past that you enjoy or you find like noble qualities in, and you kind of try to emulate them. Some of the bigger, grander things in history, most historical things, like there's a lot more chance going on in the background that a lot of people don't realize. So it's not like we have so much power. I mean, there are obviously, presidents and stuff have a little bit, obviously more levers than regular people. But I think at a personal level, it's emulating the virtues, the people in the past that you kind of admire or want to aspire towards. I would say.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me.
Just because I'm never going to be at the Congress of Vienna per se. I'm not going to be dealing with diplomats
at the pivotal moments of the.
But I can at least pick someone who tries to do the right thing, even in when it's morally gray. You try to take what option are you going to take, and you kind of base it off characters in the past that have done similar things, or had the similar kind of choices, or
contextualize your choices and
like me. I love Hannibal Barca. I always have to do that sometimes when I tell people I like Hannibal, because people what? They get confused there. I didn't bring my signs, did I? I got one right here. One of my favorite signs here, for those it's shameless self-promotion from my Etsy channel here. Invenium viam aut facium is, I'll either find a way or make one. And Hannibal might not have actually said that, but it's that attitude. He's crossing the Alps with his army and his elephants and stuff to invade Rome, and he runs into some obstacles. He's not going to just give up because there's some obstacles, and he's already dealt with a ton of stuff. He's going to find a way to do it.
They are nice signs.
Before I ramble on to let's go to the next question here.
All right. How often do you go to the gym? It's a bit of a swerve here. And are you natty?
I'm not going to lie, I laughed so hard when I saw that. Okay, so honest answer. Ideally, in a utopian world, I would go Monday through Saturday or Tuesday through Sunday or something. It's 6 days in a row.
You mean you don't? No.
No, I do not. Work and life gets in the way, but I would say the past year, I would probably say I average between 4 and 5. I'd say probably if I do 5 days, that's pretty good, and then very rarely would I go below 4, so 4 or 5, I would say. Ideally, like I said, it would be push pull legs, and then 1 day off. But that just doesn't happen. And yes, I am natural. My 20% 20% body fat percentage is completely unattainable for natural people. So I know how you guys might get that impression, but you get. The thing is, all my thumbnails, it's all about the angles, guys. Don't believe everything you see on Instagram and stuff. It's all about the angles.
It's all fake. He has a bicep pump right back there.
I lifted weights right there.
Yeah. Every video. Where did your love of history begin?
My love of history, okay. So it began kind of indirectly. Let's see. Okay, let's not do the long story. So in college, I went from biology to political science, and then they dropped the political science, and then I went to history. But the reason I went to history is because when I started doing political science, I took a bunch of philosophy classes. And when I took a bunch of philosophy classes, I fell in love with philosophy. But then to like get the context of, you know, the ancient like Greek and Roman philosophers, and even some of the medieval philosophers stuff I was reading about, I started reading like, you know, the life and times, or like, you know, the settings of like these figures and stuff, which led me to reading about like ancient Greece, ancient Rome, the medieval period, and that's how I like got into like history, kind of like indirectly.
Yeah, sweet.
And then they dropped the political science degree, and I was like, well, this sucks. So I went to some dumb rural college that was just not cool.
Like University of Maine at Prescott Island.
Wow.
Yeah. Would you be interested in making videos on your favorite topics, such as the Punic Wars?
Okay. Okay, so I would say I probably will say I'd like to do so. But I don't like editing, to be honest. I don't know if you've noticed any of my videos. I just have a, you know, just complete lack of editing. I'm not really sure how I would do it, to be honest. Like, I can't animate or do things like that. And I just feel like me just lecturing to, like, a class would be really boring.
Yeah, you never know. But
so,
yeah.
But I guess, like, I had a blog a long time ago. I had a website. And I started, like, writing on the Punic Wars. Probably altogether, it was probably like 50,000 words or something. Like, and I didn't finish.
I'd imagine, yeah.
I had like 100 posts, and each one was like, I don't know, like 5 pages or.
Yeah,
something.
you put a lot of writing into that. So.
But I don't know. I wouldn't know how to do it. Like, if I had a team doing like the visuals for me, yeah, I would like come up with the content. But
yeah. If anyone wants to do visuals, you know.
Also, your salary is going to be 0.
Yeah.
Just as a heads up, so I had no money for such things.
If anyone wants to volunteer to do visuals.
Yeah.
Well. All right, Sophie, you and I are going to do this.
Oh, and this is Sophia, for those who didn't see her in the last video.
Let's get past her tail here. What is your favorite Lord of the Rings book of the series, and favorite of the movies? Are they the same thing?
Okay, so I'm gonna cheat. My favorite, well, I guess, okay, my favorite Tolkien book is actually The Children of Húrin.
Yeah.
Which is really good, and I highly recommend it if you haven't read that one, but you like Tolkien. But if we're gonna go strictly the 3 books, I think my favorite book is The Fellowship of the Ring, because it's like I'm not a huge fan, like, granted, it was kind of, the different perspectives wasn't like a huge thing back then, like integrating them.
Yeah.
I'm just not a huge fan of like, here's half of, like, you know, here's the Hobbit story and here's like everyone else's story.
Yeah, it wasn't interspersed, it was just 2 halves of it.
Yeah. And I don't know if, I bet you someone has done like a fan thing where they kind of like did the chapters kind of like chronologically, like where they would go. I bet you someone's done.
Yeah, it's probably somebody made it more like.
Probably would make that better.
Yeah.
But, and I love how I'm like looking up at like my Tolkien stuff up there. The favorite movie would probably be The Two Towers, because it's a little bit more compact. Because, you know, it's only like, I think that one's only about a month.
Yeah.
Like, The Two Towers book is, I think, about 3 or 4 weeks, like, in the story.
It isn't the 70s Hobbit? No.
Yeah. No, it was Cleary Rings of Power, you know.
Oh,
granted,
yes,
it's not, I guess it's not Lord of the Rings, but,
yeah.
We're not going to talk about Rings of Power.
We've had that.
It's too depressing.
All right, most hated book.
Most hated book.
Or books.
So generally, I vet my books pretty. I wouldn't say thoroughly, but I usually check them like a little bit before I do it, before I read them. But there is one book that I mentioned in one of the other videos we did on the "I'm So Annoyed" tag, and it's the there is a book like In Search of the Trojan War or something like that, or In Search of Troy. And it's not the Michael Wood one. That one's really good. But anyways, I was like, oh, yeah, it's cool. It's ancient history, ancient Near Eastern history. But as I was reading it, like, the premise of the book is a reinterpretation that the war fought over Troy was actually in England. And all the characters were from England. And all the little kingdoms and stuff were in little principalities in England.
Right.
And I was like, it's one thing to reinterpret it, as like, this isn't Schliemann's Troy. It was like a different location, kind of like out in the same region, but to just be like, yeah, this is all just like taking place in Britain. I was just like, what? What?
Right.
No, it's just not. So I guess that's. I wouldn't say I hate it per se. I don't really hate it.
It's just toward logic pretty far.
It's my least favorite book that I've started that I can like remember.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense to me. Yeah. What would you recommend for medieval history for a newbie?
Okay. So got a couple different angles for the medieval history stuff. I have a video on like my favorite. That one's pretty old though. My favorite medieval history book. So I'm gonna have to do a new one pretty soon. I gotta do my favorite medieval books from 2023. All right. So I guess if you want to do a biography, I love how I'm like looking and I don't know where it is on my shelf. Way at the bottom here. If you want a biography, Greatest Knight by Thomas Asbridge is pretty good. This is a biography of William Marshall, who was a knight that served under like 4 or 5 different kings in different capacities. But you get a good look at like court life, chivalric tourneys and stuff. But also how like William Marshall was a regent for a while, and how powerful some knights really could be. And I think it's kind of a good. It's right around 1200. His life was from the late 1100s to early 1200s. So it's a good.
Gives you an excellent snapshot of that
high medieval period. I think that's a good one.
France,
do you mind handing me those Life in a Medieval books?
Yeah,
right there. Here we go. So here's my favorite medieval book of all time. I got Scenes of Medieval Life right here. I got the nice folio editions. But they're Life in a Medieval City, Life in a Medieval Castle, and Life in a Medieval Village. And Life in a Medieval City in particular is probably the best social history of pretty much any genre that I've read. And Joseph and Francis Guise have a bunch of different social histories on the medieval period. But they take tons of different professions and topics and just break them down. This is how like an actual, blacksmith would have worked in a medieval city. How did your house function as far as where did you get married? Where did you get buried? All that kind of stuff. Where did you live? All that stuff is taken into consideration. I just think they're really well done. I don't know if I've read just a single overview of medieval history that I think is like top gold standard of the entire medieval period. If you want to do more academic-y stuff, I do have Feudal Society by Mark Bloch. And it's kind of a history of I think comparing feudalism as sort of a an economic and cultural kind of thing system. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but this is definitely on the more academic side. But definitely give Mark Bloch a read.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any favorite medieval history books?
I actually thought you chose well with the Greatest Knight. Especially for someone who's totally new to the genre, totally new to this period.
It's very easy to read.
Yeah, it's very easy reading. It's a story of one man's life, so you're not skipping around to a bunch of different names you have to remember. Not unduly so, anyway. Yeah. It tells the kind of thing you can later mention to people, as fun facts or whatever. So you're getting something out of it, even if you don't necessarily continue medieval literature or medieval history as a.
He's going for a PhD in medieval literature, kind of.
So the words just come off the tongue, not by meaning it. Yeah. But medieval history as an area.
And of course, Daisy's gonna chew that toy. She hardly ever chews toys, but just for this video, she's going to.
She wanted to contribute. That's great.
All right. Let me know if you have any more specific medieval history stuff you wanna me to recommend. I guess for different subtopics and stuff. I might be able to have. Like I said, a little bit more detailed kind of answers and things.
Swerve again. What do you grow for gardens?
Oh. See, I feel like I don't do enough gardening and nature stuff on my channel, but I'm going to do more outdoor stuff. So, as of right now, we have 3 gardens, and I'm seriously considering a 4th one for this year. I'm either going to enlarge the one I have, my vegetable garden by 50%, or just do a specifically, hopefully maybe market garden. Okay, so we have 3 gardens. One is my wife's cut flower garden. A lot of there's just there's dozens upon dozens of flowers. All kinds of different things. Straw flower is her favorite. I think one of them. For those who don't know, the petals are like really hard, even when they're like growing. Like they feel like they've been dried, even though they're still like alive. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then we have a kind of wildflower-ish garden. It's like the bulbs are in front, and then it's like wild flowers.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a mix of both of our stuff. Like she does dahlias. I kind of help out with like the storing them and stuff. But a lot of bulbs. And then I throw like, the nice, easy like zinnias and cosmos and some flowers and things like that. And then she's got some more things, and it's right next to like kind of a goldenrod field, so I feel that works really well.
Color, yeah.
And then I got my vegetable garden, where I grow all kinds of stuff. Peppers are my favorite, but we live in zone 4. Even with the recent hardiness change, we're still like 4.
Yeah.
So it's hard to grow because we don't have a lot of sun, like hot days. Which actually is changing with like global warming. And
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. It's been an extremely mild winter. Not that that's indicative of a trend, but
yeah. Let's see. I grow tomatoes, rhubarb, peppers, peas, green beans. Oh, why am I drawing blanks? Beets. I feel like there's a lot more than that. Parsnips. One of the only things and usually every year I do like weird varieties and stuff. I'll have to do like some garden tours. Let me know if you want garden tours, like once it's, like in season and stuff. I'll do like videos out in the garden talking about like gardening books and science books. I have a gardening shelf I'm building up over there that we'll get to at some point. But long story short, there's a cut flower garden, a wildflower garden, and then a big vegetable garden. And I might do a second vegetable garden just for like selling like on the side of the road and stuff.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my gardening is I just pick things that look cool and are just like unique heirloom varieties, so they don't always pan out and stuff. But
experimentation,
so
to speak. What is your day job?
All right, so I do social work, so like case management stuff. For those who know what that is, and I'm gonna leave it at that because it's stressful.
It's our job.
Anyways, case management.
If you had a time machine and had to travel to one historical event, which one would you choose?
Yeah, so this one's really hard. I don't like. There's so many options for this.
That's a good question. Yeah,
it's very. Adam, this one's very difficult. I kind of feel like these two routes. You can either go back in time to figure out something what really happened.
Yeah.
Right. On like an event that's kind of like two sides kind of contest the narrative, or you could just do like one super I don't know, apocryphal event that's just like so over the top and you just want to witness it.
Right. 5th century Britain or something like that. Yeah.
Or I'm thinking like maybe like the assassination of like Caesar or something.
Right.
Or the signing of like the peace treaty in 1918 at the end of like World War I. It's just like a giant thing.
Yeah.
Or you could pick more like an event that kind of is like a longer period. Like I was thinking like when the Treaty of Westphalia, or like at the end of the 30 Years' War, and then the Congress of Vienna in 1848, where it's like a couple months of just all the who's who in Europe basically getting together and hashing things out, and there's just banquets, and then there's just a lot of espionage and stuff going on, but everyone knows there's espionage going on. Like I don't know,
it's an exciting time to be alive.
I don't know. I feel like that would be kind of interesting. I actually don't read much on like the 1800s, like modern. I always say modern history, but 1500s and upwards.
Yeah.
But I've been reading a lot on that like recently, and I just feel like it would help me like understand it better. And it was like how they thought in the 1800s. They thought they were at like the golden age of humanity in a way. Just the zenith of human, I guess, progress. And then like looking back on it, we think they're like super backwater. like none of us would want to actually like live back then.
Wait another 200 years and
but I don't know, I just feel like and obviously like if you were like in the lower classes, you'd just die like in your third, like I'd be like almost dead because I'd be breathing in like coal or the fumes or whatever I'd be working in, or some sort of factory injury or something. But
neither one of us would be nearly as pleasant lifestyle, or having
exactly.
pleasant lifestyles to do
but
that.
I guess like in those like big grand events, like I said, I think that'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Or I could pick something like biblical and be like, did this happen? Or something. I don't know.
There you go.
Like, the parting of the Red Sea, or
Yeah.
I don't know, but I can't think of like a single. There's not a whole lot of like huge. I guess okay. If I'm gonna pick one from the Bronze Age, I'm gonna pick the Battle of Kadesh between the Hittites and Ramses the Great's New Kingdom, Egypt. And they both claimed victory. And this is actually the first peace treaty that we know of. We have like at the UN and stuff. There's like replicas of like these tablets where they both agreed like onto like peace terms and stuff on like defining like the boundaries of their empires and stuff. From what we can glean from like all the sources that have come down to us, it was easily a strategic victory for the Hittites. But Ramses was like a great propaganda person. And he, of course, in Egypt, every time you do anything, they never lost any battles ever. Like, if you read the hieroglyphics and stuff.
Yeah.
But they go like every generation goes into Nubia and wipes out every last man to the end of their seed or whatever. But then the king after him, or Pharaoh after him, has to do it again.
Yeah.
But anyways, so the Hittites did pretty good. They kind of ambushed Egypt had broken off into columns actually, which is kind of weird almost for the Bronze Age. But they pretty much shattered like one in an ambush. Ramsey does like rally, and then I think the Hittites kind of get lost in like the baggage train kind of thing.
Right.
But the thing is, they end up holding the ground and taking like I forgot the village of Kadesh and stuff. But like that area kind of just falls under their like kind of de facto jurisdiction. So it's definitely like a win. It's probably like a tactical draw. Bronze Age tactics. It's kind of, but. I'd like to be there and then like somehow like leave a chronicle, like some sort of weird chronicle saying no. I can't remember if it was Muwatalli or Supulioma or I can't remember the Hittite king off the top of my head. But yeah, he actually like beat Ramses. But
yeah,
that was the longest tangent
definitely established.
Ever.
No, yeah.
But it's like I said, it's the first peace treaty that came down. It was kind of like what I was like thinking.
Yeah,
like, afterwards.
Kind of a pivotal moment in what we understand of history. Yeah. So,
yeah.
What is the best BookTube recommendation you have gotten?
All right, Raiding Sweetgrass. Let me grab it real fast. All right, so like Raiding Sweetgrass, I had seen like little blurbs of it here and there, but didn't really pay that much attention to it until BookTube and stuff, and I saw it just everywhere. I'm like, what is going on here? And I read it, and I was like, wow. Like, number one, bang, just boom. If you haven't read Raiding Sweetgrass, that's an order. Have you read Raiding Sweetgrass?
I have, yeah. It's really good, yeah.
It's so good. He doesn't even read like sciencey, naturey stuff.
Yeah,
I don't think.
And even I enjoyed it. Yeah.
It is like the perfect blend of Western science and like indigenous, like kind of. I think indigenous wisdom is like indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, and the teaching of plants. It's the greatest blend of like kind of this way of thinking that I've like ever read, and I just feel like if everyone approached not just science but just approached life with kind of this mindset, the world would just be a better place. So I got this really cool. I gave away my regular paperback edition, so I ended up I think someone gave this to me. That's pretty sad. I can't remember. I think I got this as like a birthday present a couple years ago. After someone had found out I gave away the paperback one to someone. So, yeah. This is the one. Like, and I know it's kind of milquetoast because like everyone recognizes this one, but there is a reason.
Yeah.
There is a reason.
Yeah. The greats are greats for a reason. Which state do you live in?
Maine.
Yeah.
I live in the middle of nowhere. Unfortunately, I don't live by the coast in a lighthouse, as some of you have commented before. I wish I lived in a lighthouse full of books, but no, I live inland with no ocean near me. I go to the ocean all the time, but none near me.
Yeah.
Okay, how rural would you say I am, Tim?
On a scale of 1 to 10, maybe we're getting into like a 9.5.
I mean, I honestly don't know of a town more rural than mine. Like, you could like live in the, I guess, like a cabin
right out in the woods. Yeah.
But, like in an actual township, I'm like about as rural as it gets.
It's a very small community.
We barely have a post office. Like our post office is open like 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they always talk about like closing it down because they can't find anyone.
I by no means live in the big city, but even I'm a little bit more.
He lives at least like
urban,
in a. It's technically a city according to the state of Maine.
Yeah, according to the state of Maine's generous
yes.
definitions.
Okay, we'll just say this. If you go west from my house, if you just go straight, after about, you'll walk into the woods, and if you don't actually leave, like, the wood line, you will just, like, walk for about 100 miles, and you'll just eventually get somewhere in Canada.
Yeah.
There is no towns west of me.
Well, thank God you once again find civilization in Canada.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's... No, I get it, yeah.
Canada!
So, yeah, I live in the middle of the woods, basically. Actually, and I used to do videos, like, walking in the woods behind my house and stuff, but probably should bring that up again.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's
Sophie's
see.
trying to steal the show.
Are you a teacher, or have you ever thought about being a teacher?
Alright, so I'm not a teacher. I've never taught before. I did, so when I went to college, my first, like, semester or two I was in the biology teaching program for secondary education. But then I dropped out of it and went to, like, political science and blah, blah, blah. I do actually have, like, a provisional I got to check into it because it was, like, 8 or 9 years ago. But I do have a provisional certificate to teach social studies in the secondary school in the state of Maine. As long as, like, the superintendent, like, signs, like, a piece of paper. I've taken, like, all the praxis and all that kind of stuff. So I theoretically could pretty easy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's not for me.
Have you ever thought about taking historical reenactments, or taking part in historical reenactments? Sorry.
I have not. I don't even know if there's any historical reenactments, like, near us. I mean, I think it'd be kind of cool, but from what I understand, that's a big rabbit hole. Like, if you want to be, like, super, super, super historically accurate. Like, I remember reading, like, stuff on it, and people were, like, talking about, what size, like, hobnails to use on, like, the Roman Caliguria or whatever.
It's easy to vanish into the weeds and that stuff.
So I guess if you want to be super historically accurate, like, I don't know. I just don't know if I'd have the energy or time or, like, resources to really do that justice. I mean, it probably would be fun if you actually knew people in it and you made friends and you just did it. I'm not really sure what you do.
Yeah.
I actually don't really understand what you do.
I mean, there's the Society for Creative Anachronism over in Canada, which actually probably is up here a little bit more urban and happening. But, yeah, apart from that, I can't think of a lot of, like, actual reenactors up here.
Does anyone do... Is it always, like, the Roman era, too? Do people do, like...
they do medieval, yeah.
See, I would want to be, like, a Greek hoplite.
Yeah.
But, like, the old, like, I don't know, 600s or something, like, Persian War and earlier, where you have, like, the full Corinthian helmet, and, like, be a rich guy that has, like, the full breastplate with the abs and the greaves and stuff.
Right.
I don't know. I do.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, okay, so going back to an event... Seeing the Battle of Plataea, I might change it to the Battle of Plataea if it's like a battle or something grand event. It's the largest gathering of hoplites ever in the history of ever. I can't remember if it was 30 or 40,000, and it's from, like, dozens of city-states. So it's actually, the one time the Greek polis, like, actually, they still argued a lot even during the Persian War, and there's a lot of backroom dealing and stuff. But the first time they actually vaguely worked together... and they actually fight off Persia. But like I said, the Battle of Plataea specifically, I know everyone always talks about 300 and Thermopylae stuff. Yeah, it was kind of cool, but 300 was a lot. I mean, it was a loss. Like, Persia just, like, ran over them and then burned, like, Athens to ground, like, the next month. Like, that's literally the end result there. Yeah. But the next year at Plataea, like I said, 30,000 hoplites and then another... I don't know, 40 or 50,000, like, light infantry and stuff, but just seeing the gathering of that many hoplites from that many different city-states and stuff actually, like, putting aside their differences for once, one time, just to, like, get things done.
Yeah, if you like hoplites, that's the place to be. So,
I don't know. I just feel, like I said, it's just kind of I like hoplites, I like the Greek city-states, but I don't really like Athens or Sparta, but like I said, this is just the gathering of, like, the entire, like, or not the entire Greco world, but a lot, many of the city-states of, like, Greece and stuff.
And upside, when you came back, you would have absolute historical reenactment accuracy.
That's true, yeah.
Know for a fact what kind of sandals they were.
Man, I read a book once where they said, like, at Marathon, the Greek hoplites could have sprinted in the full panoply wearing their armor and the friggin' 20-pound hoplon. They could run into the Persian line from start to finish, like, because most people go... Yeah, they probably, like, marched in formation or kind of stood, like, the little hop step thing. for a while, and then you charge the last couple 100 feet or something.
Yeah.
Now, like I read one book where the guy was like, well, clearly, like, some people in the military can do it, so all these, like, Greeks can do it.
Could probably, yeah.
And I was like, bro, these Greeks don't, like, train all day. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but why would they?
Oh, no. There was a reenactment in college or something. Like, they did a study, and the college students, the athletic kids couldn't do it. And he basically argued, well, there's like, I used to run with, like, a 50-pound backpack up and down, like, a stadium or something, and I was like, it's not the same. It just isn't the same.
Yeah.
You can't run. First of all, you can't sprint a mile and like have energy at the end. But
it's important not to romanticize your favorite historical period. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you remember the first historical book you read that made a powerful impression on you?
No. Not gonna lie, no. History books don't. I would say like the science and nature books have a lot more of impression on me than history books. Generally, I'd say, I mean, I can't even think of one where I was like, had like a weird aha moment for history anymore. I don't think I ever really have either. Like, I feel like the history is more just learning about stuff, like learning about people or learning about events or the era or different facets of society, whatever it is. I don't know. What was the question worded like again?
It was. I'm sorry, it's finished.
No worries. I just don't feel like there wasn't never like just one book that I don't know,
really
like a thunderbolt, just like
yeah.
Whereas I probably could come up with a few from like the nature and science.
Yeah, more of an increditional thing though.
Yeah, exactly. It's more just like they're like building blocks towards a bigger
picture.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Is history something you've always been interested in since you were a kid?
No. Okay. I kind of answered it a little bit, like in one of the questions where I talked about getting into history in college from philosophy.
Yeah.
I hated history in high school. My history teacher was, I feel bad she's dead now. So but it was, I mean, it was just a class I took. It wasn't really anything special or anything. And like I said, it was more philosophy kind of indirectly just hooked me in. Like, I don't really know how.
Yeah, and slowly progressed.
I feel like I should read more philosophy too, because but I used to in college, and then I kind of petered off. But maybe I'll try to bring some back.
College is a good time for philosophy.
I wanted to be like one of those guys.
Oh yeah. The modern Nietzsche.
Yeah.
I think everyone takes a philosophy class in college kind of wants that to a certain extent. You want to be the great thinker, right? Yeah.
I would have. My college, like, I think they had a philosophy degree with the political science, or you could like double major in it. But then when they dropped the political science, like, the philosophy just turned into a minor. So that's why I only have a minor in philosophy. It's very sad.
Yeah.
Granted, if I went back to school now, it would be for back into the biology where I started, conservation or wildlife management or something like that. But.
Yeah, I'd probably make different choices too, honestly. Yeah. Do you think we can learn from history to prevent chaos today?
No, because it's a lot of the chaos stems from just human nature, right? Like, you can't really change a lot of, like, we have a lot more information and facts, but we don't apply. Like, the majority of people we have more access to pretty much everything right now.
Yeah.
We have more access to energy, transportation, information with the internet, communication, everything, and we don't use it appropriately most of the time. We just screw everything up.
Phenomenal amount of misinformation too, unfortunately.
That's true too. But that's the thing, we don't have the critical thinking to vet stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Like in ancient Greece, for example, right? You had the sophists. The whole point of sophistry was you don't have to make the right points. It's just you want your point to be the one people believe. Even if you knew it was wrong, but you just word it in such a way that you just communicate it more effectively, and everyone believes it. And then Socrates comes along and goes, no, we should actually like think about our thinking. Kind of, the unexamined life isn't worth it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like as an example, World War One, that generation, the late 1800s, early 1900s, they were studying the classics. They had granted, you didn't have to go to like secondary school, but if you did, you got a pretty decent it was probably a lot more rigorous than like high school is by far today.
Yeah.
That was a very well educated generation as far as things go.
For standardized tests.
No. But every single country goes, oh yeah, if we have a war, we're gonna win by Christmas. Every single country was like, yeah, we're gonna just like wipe the floor with everybody.
Yeah.
Every single country said that, and that's why you have the August Madness. you know, when World War I is declared, and you have all those parades and everyone's just enlisting,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. When when the doomsday clock is like ticking down, everyone's like, oh, this is actually a good thing. We're just gonna like I said, we're just gonna win, be back in a couple of months. And every single one, not everybody believed that, obviously, but just as like a general kind of feeling, that generation felt that way. But if you look at history, that never happened, like ever happened, ever.
Yeah.
So, I shouldn't say ever. I'm sure there was like a few kinds of things, but still, like it just, like that kind of proves, like you know, so you don't really learn from the past. Like they should have all known. Yeah. Like if they all studied like Greece and Rome, you know, you have the Peloponnesian War. like
so it's not so much that you can't learn from the past, but that you just doubt the capacity of.
I think that's why like I was talking more about like the individual level way at the beginning of the video. Yeah. Right. When you read history, it's more about your own thought processes and decision making and stuff. Whereas, just as a society's not really gonna change. Yeah. I guess as far as like kind of like the base, I guess kind of drives and stuff, right? Yeah, we'll still all like money and power. And that kind of.
Our types of tribalism might change, but we'll end up with a different kind.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so you've settled right into the hat. Fortunately, I have the last one right here. How many pets do you have? Very appropriately.
Yes. So we got 4. Okay, so this is Sophia. She has a twin brother named Ajax. Ajax was named because we had a bottle. Well, I say we. My wife bottle fed them because they were. I think all our animals are rescues, and they came from a garage that had like 20 or 30 cats in it or something. And Ajax was like not doing well, so he was scrawny and he couldn't like open his eye, or his eyes were infected. I can't remember exactly, but I was like, you know, let's give him like a really cool, strong name. So Ajax, for those who don't know, he's like the second greatest hero, only behind Achilles in the Trojan War on the Greek side. Kind of dumb, or I guess he's portrayed as kind of goofy and simple. I guess in a lot of the literature, like
the unfortunate also around, you know, but.
Though there are some characters where he's not quite that bad. But anyways, he gets kind of a bad rep. But anyways, he's the strongest, like, you know, second greatest hero. So I was like, I'll give him like a strong name like that. Let's see, then we got Daisy. You probably saw him earlier in the video. Got her from the pound. And then we also have Henry, who's a parakeet. Actually, no, he's not. Well, I guess, it was a yellow-ringed parakeet, I think is a budgie. And he was from... my wife's like second cousin knew somebody that was gonna let him go outside, and if you remember, we're in Maine, and he's from those birds are from like tropical Australia, so he would last about till nighttime probably and just die. So we were like, we'll just like keep him so he doesn't like they don't let him go but those are the 4 animals that we have at the moment. Yeah. So don't send any more our way. Please.
And here we have the poster child.
Oh yeah, and she's Siamese. Well, obviously her twin brother is, but he's like reverse coloration. He's gray and white instead of like tan and black. It's really wonky. He looks weird. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like this video's gone on long enough. Let me know what you think of my answers. If you got like anything you want to contribute, and then, like I said, if you have some burning questions as well, leave some comments down below. And let me know too. Like I said, if you liked him having him on the videos and stuff.
Yeah, or Sophie for that matter.
Except
nearly as much of a problem.
Yeah, except the pets try to knock the stand over the tripod. They've done it like 3 times already, and then they ruin it. But
you little saboteur.
But so this was my 4K Q&A. Hopefully, we'll keep pressing on. I'll do another one if we hit another like cool milestone. I don't know. Yeah. But thanks so much for joining me. Hopefully, my life isn't too boring. I feel like it's pretty boring.
I think that going well.
But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and always remember, whatever you end up reading, read victoriously.